artists, welcome to IC Arts. I am Irina, children's book illustrator, and I decided to make a video about pricing your work because when I just started out, it definitely felt like I was blindfolded, and very often in the beginning, I did give the wrong price. Now, it's very important for us not to accidentally undercharge and overpromise and perhaps even in the end work for pennies. But before I even begin listing the mistakes, I want to say that to me, pricing, it's not just numbers. It is the ability of all of us to understand our value, our time, our skills. I get it. When you're a beginner, you might be surprised that somebody is even ready to pay for your work. Why would somebody do this? I'm just drawing. I love it. I spend my time beautifully. Yes, but with practice, you realize that maybe you will be working on a lot more complicated projects and so on and so forth. You will understand that you do have the skills, you do have the professionalism in you. It's there, so do not sabotage yourself. And it's important to know that. And when you give the quote, you have to be really confident. The mistake number one would be that very often beginners charge only for the time drawing, based on the thought, how long is it going to take me to draw this page? But the project is a little bit more. It's your research, it's thumbnailing, it's the revisions, definitely revisions, and client communications, be so calls, emails, or text. And it's the final file preparation, where maybe it's formatting, you're adding the text, some design, and then you have to make sure that the file would be printed beautifully. All that needs to be included in the price because all of that takes time, your time. Obviously, only with practice you will be able to tell how long each stage, even approximately, is taking you. But even in the beginning, very beginning, before even working with the clients, you could already start timing yourself and maybe even come up with a concept project for your Behance profile, of course, and think, how long is it taking you to work this through? Now, number two, very often you forget about charging for rights and licensing. To be honest, according to my experience, this is the one that is almost always a surprise for the client. They don't understand why they have to pay extra, but I will give you an example. Say the client has ordered from you the character design. This character would be used, say, in the bakery, right? It's like a logo. It might be used on the menu, on the wall, and so on and so forth. But then the client also tells you that they want to use this character to do merchandise or maybe even make a cartoon with it. Now that would be, first of all, additional charge and a completely different story, because you can't just illustrate the character. Someone will pay you, say, $400, hypothetically again, and that's it. And then this character is going to be on YouTube, it's going to be on merchandise, so it's different, very different. So you have to know the usage, how the client is going to use what he or she or they are buying from you. And you can educate your client. I think it's actually very essential for us to explain everything to the client, from the license, of course, to every stage that the project takes us. It is beneficial because the client understands, wow, there's so many things actually involved in the project, and now I understand what I am paying for. You can explain that, yes, you could definitely purchase this character. You will put in the contract, guys, that this use is going to be for the character design. And then for everything else in the future, you might explain to the client that they will need to reach out back to you and purchase additional license. Because sometimes the client might say, I want full copyright transfer. The price will be significantly different. Number three, you're pricing per illustration, not considering a book as the whole thing. So this is about people who are illustrating books. A book, it's not just 32 pages, you charge per page, it's going to be very, very low number. The book is a cohesive project. And when I give a quote to the client, every single time the client emails me, hey, how much is this going to be? I always explain that these are going to be the stages, the sketching, the character design. There are different types of illustrations, although I do not charge separately from vignette to a full spread. I will be making another video where I would be talking about pricing models, so you could understand better actually how to price a certain type of work and which one would work better for you. Now you have to also explain that if you are do-it-all illustrator, say you will also put the text in the book, design everything, and prep the file so after it sends to the printers, it's going to be printed well. All that takes so much time so that you absolutely cannot just charge per page. So there has to be the total project fee, and then for the client's convenience, you could of course break it up into different stages. Say the covers is one price, the formatting is another price, the preparation for print is a different price. If you want this book in a different language, that's additional. And of course, the next obvious thing to say here is that when you are pricing your work, you forget about revisions. So revisions always happen. Revisions, as I see them, it's not necessarily a bad thing, because very often the client gives an idea and I love it. And I see that by doing that revision, I actually improve my work, because the client very often has I can't say a better understanding of the project, but they have their own vision, which helps to bring the project home sometimes, because it's a dialogue. Working on a project you work for your client, it is a dialogue. So don't be afraid of revisions. I always put in my contract that, say, if it's a book, there are 2 revisions per page for sketching stage, and coloring are included. Same with the cover. But everything additional would be charged per hour, and make sure you put that in the contract. Of course, there would be pages where there will be no revisions, and there would be pages where there will be much more than 2. So you have to understand what's happening. If you see that there is way too many edits already, or perhaps the project is done, that happens very often with books, and the client says, I want to change the font of the book or the font size. Now that would be additionally, and that would be charged per hour. The next one would be that we forget to charge for file preparation, especially in the books. Imagine how long it takes you to illustrate every single page, but now imagine how long it will take you to format every single page in the book, and the edits that come with it as well. My recommendation, if you want to be seriously in the book illustration business, is to learn InDesign, because this program, it's meant for this, right? That's the purpose of it, to edit fast, to change everything fast. If you're just a beginner, probably, say, for me, what I used was Procreate and Photoshop. It's doable, absolutely, but it takes so much more time and absolutely unnecessary, right? The next one, additional to the formatting, when I talk about the formatting, I mainly mean applying text, make sure everything is aligned, this and that, final design twitches and so on. But when we talk about file preparation for print, that could be a little different story. I illustrate my work in RGB, and then I convert them to the CMYK, or depending on any ICC profile that the printers require. But that also takes additional time, because you need to see, and that would still take time even if you right away illustrate in CMYK mode. But just bottom line here is that that's also extra. That's extra time. Another mistake that is probably not directly connected to the mistakes in pricing, but is that you do not research the industry standards. There is a guide which everyone recommends when people talk about pricing your work. It's a very nice guide. I love it. I have it, not the latest edition, but I also found that if you're illustrating children's books, there's not a lot of information there for me that I could personally use. I found that if you're a designer, it has a lot more information for that field. So anyway, you could simply do a Google search and just say how much to charge for the book. That's the same thing that basically the clients do. So I'm still surprised when a lot of people say, look, I want to illustrate a 32-page book and I have $1,000. So, okay, well, good luck. Because it would say probably somewhere between 3 and 10, and then you would see where you kind of fall in this category. And do not forget that every book is different. There could be a book for 0 to 2, right? This age group, and you would just illustrate some big object there and put a letter in the corner. This is it. Or it could be a very complex illustration, whimsical, tons of details, or maybe something else. So just think about the complexity of a project as well. Another mistake, which I actually never made, is to not asking your client about their budget first. It makes a lot of things very clear, and it gives you a green light sort of to know what you're working with. So when I got my very first email from the client, I want to illustrate a book with you, how much will it be? I right away answered, what is your budget? Because before I even start thinking about spending my time trying to come up with a quote where I give where I give 6,000 and you only have one, I would rather ask for the client's budget. And then of course the details of the project, as many details as there could be, because this would give you a much better understanding of what you're working with. And then you might even have an idea, okay, so that's the client's budget, always negotiable, by the way. And then you would think, all right, so maybe I add a little more, or I'm totally comfortable with this project because with this budget because I love this project and I want to do it. It's my first client. Let's go. So do ask about the client's budget. There is no mystery there. There's no reason the client wouldn't say, and it's definitely not a bad tone. Well, it's business. We're working with money, with the quote right now, right? And probably one more thing here I would definitely say is that by getting the answer you're not comfortable with, like maybe the price is too low, you're afraid to walk away. So please, from the very beginning, try to understand that if you will be undercharging, it will burn you out and you would not, absolutely not enjoy being an illustrator. So know your worth from the very beginning, very beginning. Do not give lower prices than you have to, please. You have to understand that if a client is serious, they have already researched the marketing price for a certain thing. You do not get the price from the moon and it's not necessarily very, very high, right? So just understand that it's probably not your client. You have to take care of your mental health, because if you don't, if you work for pennies, trust me, this is going to be a nightmare. These are all the mistakes I wanted to share with you. I know that with practice, you will definitely be a pro in giving the best quote to your client. And I want to add that maybe the idea of this video was because what I see from a lot of illustrators is that they are not comfortable with doing too much communication with the client, specifically negotiating. And to be honest, again, according to my experience, it's a lot of negotiating. Even in the middle of the project, in the end of the project, that's a solid part of it. It's not like every client will say, I want to do this, there will be no edits, and this is the amount of money I will pay without asking any questions. So it's not how it works, and you should never overthink it. By understanding that here I am, I can deliver this project, I'm not afraid, please don't be afraid. You know, as they say, you have to imagine what's the worst thing that would happen if you don't maybe do the project well and you understand I can't do it. You will just refund the money and apologize. But trust me, that's probably not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So think about this. Don't be afraid to charge really for what your work costs, and try to enjoy the process, right? Because that's a solid part of being an illustrator. I hope this information was valuable and useful for you. If you need any additional support or some kind of personalized support, I also offer one-on-one consultations where we could work out some plan according to your request. Maybe it's your style, maybe it's looking for and getting the clients, or whatever it is. So there is a link in the description bar down below. Please do fill up the questionnaire. That's the key thing for our consultation. And I want you to know that I appreciate your support so much. I value your time, you watch my videos, but I also hope you're actually getting something out of it. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel and like this video and put the thumbs up, do all those things, you know, and I will see you later. If you have any ideas for the topics that I need to cover in this channel, put in the comments. I'd be happy to help you out. Bye.